The harder you try to focus, the worse your brain gets at it. And I've got the neuroscience to prove that. In the late 1990s, Professor Amy Arnsten, a professor of neuroscience at Yale University, was researching how does stress affect the brain. What she found was quite shocking. She found that when an individual is chronically stressed, meaning stressed over long periods of time, there's an area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex that shuts down. Now here's the problem with that in terms of staying focused and doing your best work. The prefrontal cortex happens to be one of the areas in the brain most responsible for focus and staying concentrated. Put in simpler terms, what this means is that more stress equals less prefrontal cortex activity, which means less focus. Now, even though I know this because of the fact that I'm a clinical psychologist and I work with high performers to help them perform at their best, here's the problem with what popular culture says about focus. Popular culture, especially all the content online around hustle and grind, will tell you the opposite. They oftentimes tell you things that make you more stressed. They feel that in order to be focused, you have to stress more and put more pressure on yourself. I'm talking about the motivational gurus who say you need to be 100% focused on your goals and you need to feel scared of not achieving your goals. These are the people who will shout at you in disdain if you don't stick to your goals. These are the people who will make you feel pressured and stressed and give you a lot of anxiety-ridden messages. Now here's the problem with what the hustle culture teaches us. Hustle culture is teaching us that we should increase our stress level to focus more. And what I'm saying is the complete opposite. What I'm saying is that focus doesn't come from force, it comes from flow. Focus doesn't come from stress, it comes from being in a good space. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you 3 specific ways in which hustle culture messages increase our stress, and then we're going to flip those 3 to give you the cure, the solution. These are going to be the things that I actually do with A performers, the people who are performing at their best, the people who are highly focused. So here are the 3 ways that hustle culture actually increases stress. Firstly, it does not acknowledge the need for rest. If you ask a neuroscientist, how does someone focus? The first thing they'll tell you is that they need good sleep. They need to restore themselves. They need to take breaks, because focus relies on the prefrontal cortex, and the prefrontal cortex fatigues. If you look at the neuroscientific literature, you will see that the prefrontal cortex cannot run indefinitely. Now, hustle culture tells you the opposite. It gives you this expectation, this unconscious expectation that you should always be able to switch your focus on. You should be focused all the time. You should always focus on your goals. You should be able to switch that on automatically. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. And this is completely untrue. According to the neuroscience, according to psychological science and behavioral science and cognitive science, they all align on the fact that the brain needs rest. And in particular, the areas that are responsible for focus, primarily the prefrontal cortex, it needs a lot of rest. Now, second way in which hustle culture leads to more stress. It leads to more stress because it tells you that if you don't focus, it's a moral failing. So it turns lack of focus into something wrong that you're doing, something to be ashamed about, something to criticize yourself about. And that shouldn't be the case because, like I've told you already, your biology needs rest. It needs breaks. And if you're not focusing, it's simply a sign that your biology and your psychology is not in a good space. And being more self-critical on yourself, shaming yourself because you can't focus, that doesn't turn down the stress. That doesn't help you get into a better space. It increases the stress. So this is the second way in which hustle culture actually unconsciously increases the amount of stress that you have. It makes you more self-critical. And when you're more self-critical, you're more stressed. Because think about that for a moment. If you have this self-critical narrative, this inner voice that's constantly criticizing you, do you think you're going to feel calmer or more pressured and anxious and stressed? It's definitely the latter. You're going to feel more anxious if you have a highly self-critical voice. So what you need is not self-criticism, because that increases stress. And that's what hustle culture does. Now, the third way in which hustle culture actually increases stress and decreases focus is that it causes you to think that your life is something to be suffered through. This is the worldview of someone who lives in hustle and grind culture. The idea that life is suffering, that you should push through things, that you're meant to suffer now and then live the rest of your life as a champion. This is not a helpful paradigm because this paradigm removes the possibility for enjoyment. It removes the possibility for gratitude. It removes the possibility of breathing out, feeling a sense of okayness, a sense of satisfaction, a sense of enjoyment, a sense of pleasure. This is highly, highly problematic because if you remove all of those things from your life, a sense of playfulness, pleasure, presence, you're also increasing your stress. And that is not helpful for focus. So those are the three ways in which hustle culture, in trying to make you focus more, actually makes you stress more and therefore focus less. This is how hustle culture short circuits your focus through the mechanism of stress. Now we're going to flip those three ways in which it makes you more stressed. We're going to flip them on their head so that you know what the treatment should be. And these are the things that I do with the high achievers in my high performance coaching practice. When I use my clinical psychology background, I'm helping them increase their sense of well-being, decrease their stress so that they can focus better. So that focus is not this tense obsession, but rather the result of creating a life and creating a mind of harmony and health. So let's start with the first point. When hustle culture says that you shouldn't rest and that you should overwork, we have to flip that into strategic rest. What I mean by strategic rest is that it's rest for a purpose. That's what it means to have a strategy. A strategy is there to help you reach a goal. So if your goal is to focus, you need strategic rest. You need a plan for rest. And you need to think about it like an athlete. When an athlete is performing at their best, they're intentionally resting. Usain Bolt was only able to break a world record and win a gold medal at the Olympics because he rested strategically. You need to think in the same way. If you're going to focus, if you're going to play the long game, you need to rest strategically, which means getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, which means taking breaks every 30 to 90 minutes while working so that you can actually rest your brain and rest the mechanism that's needed for focus. There are many other ways to take rest. It doesn't have to be these big vacations. You can have micro rest moments that are very strategic. I once had a client who would sit on their porch and just close their eyes for a moment while sitting there, just for a few minutes. And that would be restorative enough for their brain to reset their focus so that they could get back in the game. You need to think about how to do that for yourself. How can I rest strategically? Rest needs to be one of your KPIs. Now, number 2, when hustle culture tells you that you should be ashamed for not focusing, you need to pivot towards self-compassion. You need to understand the nature of the mind, and that the nature of the mind is not to be focused all the time, but that it's very natural for it to get distracted. But you still need to train it. You need to train it with self-compassion and support. Instead of criticizing yourself and saying, "Oh, I should be able to focus," rather ask, "What can I do to increase my focus?" That's a more compassionate question, and it's a more effective question. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to focus better because you hit yourself over the head. You're going to focus better if you actually train your attention. And how you can do that is through mindfulness meditation. Just sit quietly, close your eyes, and just try to focus on your breathing. If you do that for a few minutes a day, you will increase your focus. But here's the key. You don't just sit there and try to focus on your breathing and then shout at yourself when your mind wanders away. No. Remember, we're practicing self-compassion here because self-compassion will lead to less stress. So when your mind wanders away, you say, "Oh, there goes my mind," and you bring it back compassionately. Gentle redirection. What this does is it trains you to be compassionate with yourself, to be supportive, rather than to be self-critical and to be shaming. The reason a lot of people don't like meditation is because they're actually very self-critical and they're very shaming. "Oh, I can't focus. Oh, I can't meditate. Meditation is not for me." There's a flavor of self-criticism and shame that's embedded into their meditation practice. So what you're going to do to train your focus is you're going to use the technique of mindfulness meditation, but you're going to gently redirect your mind continuously, and you're going to sit there for 5 minutes, and you're very compassionately going to keep bringing your back to the breathing. So that is the key here. Bring your mind back self-compassionately. That way, you'll have less self-criticism. You'll be training yourself to focus better, but also removing the shame, which will make you less stressed. And finally, number 3, when hustle culture tells you that life is something to be suffered through and endured, you're going to replace that with a paradigm of playfulness. You must reconnect to the idea of being playful with the work that you have. When you were a child and you got good at a video game, it wasn't because you were suffering through the video game. No, you enjoyed it. You enjoyed it because you saw it as a game. You saw it as, this is something I can be playful with. This is something I can do for enjoyment. Your work can be the same. You can integrate a bit more playfulness, a bit more passion, a bit more purpose to actually make the experience more enjoyable. It doesn't have to be something that's suffered through. And I think a lot of us fall into the trap of suffering through life, of suffering through work. We're just trying to get to the end of the year, the end of the month. We're just trying to get that task done. We're just trying to reach some mountaintop. And when we get to the mountaintop, we've realized that we never enjoyed the view along the way. Everyone speaks about enjoying the journey, but nobody practices it. And this is what you need to do if you want to focus better. You need to bring in more playfulness, more enjoyment into your day and into your work, which means asking yourself consciously, how can I make this work activity more enjoyable? Could I listen to some music that I enjoy while doing it? If it's an admin task, could I put on a podcast that I enjoy while doing the admin because it doesn't take too much concentration? How would I feel if I did this work outside on the porch versus inside? Would it make it feel better? Could I turn this into a game where I try to get as much done in 10 minutes and then take a break and then have another 10-minute timer to make it more engaging, to gamify it a bit? These are questions you can ask, but you only think to ask these questions if you're not living in that paradigm of, oh, I have to suffer through this work. And remember, that paradigm is not good because it adds more pressure, tension, urgency. All of these things are swimming around in your mind and in your body, and it's making it more difficult to focus over time because stress decreases focus in the long term. So this is the third way in which you can increase your focus, is to think, how can I bring more playfulness into my work and more enjoyment? Now, one last important thing before I go. You need to think of yourself as a sailboat rather than a rowboat. Many people are living their lives as a rowboat, feel they have to put constant effort in. They have to use the paddles to get forward, and it's a grind, and it's a hustle, and it's tiring, and they have to put in constant energy. You need to think about yourself as a sailboat. A sailboat catches the wind, and it moves forward effortlessly. That is the kind of life that I want for you. Not one where you're just moving forward, like with the rowboat, and you're slogging through it, but one where you feel that there's a system that carries you forward. The wind is taking you forward. That wind needs to be reconnecting to playfulness, to passion, to purpose. It needs to be connecting to happiness and joy and inner calm and working from that space so that your focus doesn't have to be something that's forced like a rowboat, but it can be something that flows effortlessly like a sailboat. That's what I want for you, for your life, for your work. That's what I help the A achievers in my practice to do. And it's possible for you too.